U.S. Federal Park Ranger called me, and his dad had taken him to Cache Lake either 2 or 3 times. His dad had just passed away 2 days before. His dad wanted to have his ashes sprinkled at Cache Lake. And I said, well, I'll have to make some calls. I called a guy in customs up there, and he said, he says, I'm thrilled to death that someone thinks enough of our country to have his ashes sprinkled here. Bring them up, just don't say you're bringing them. And they had a little thing for Grandpa and give him a tour of the quick camp, but left. But to have the U.S. Federal Park Ranger call and request something like that. But for me, my committee and all the work crews have done something right if we got people wanting to come up there with their ashes.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me. I got involved in scouting in would have been 82. My son was just got into Cub Scouts, and the gentleman I worked with was assistant scoutmaster for Troop 20 here in Bloomington. I went to Cache Lake at that time that year up there and helped out in the fall, and I've been helping there ever since. Would have to be my son getting his Eagle. I told him he needed to get it before he got his driver's license because all the sports and everything he's in, and he succeeded and did well at it. To see the troops that come to Cache Lake, I always take a week of rangering to see how things are going. I don't think I've ever had anybody say they wasn't going to come back. And the reason I'm still involved with scouting is to help keep these young people out of trouble if we can. Reverend, years ago, I had a supervisor at my job question me on how important the job was to me, and he was kind of upset when I told him my family was first, God was second, so the job would have to be third. I never wanted any recognition all the years in scouting. I had them want to put me into the Order of the Arrow and everything else. That's for the young men or the gentlemen that want to do it. I'm just here to help, not get awards for myself. 2 people, one being my wife, and thanks very much for putting up with me and being gone so much. And the other one was the gentleman that got me started in scouting. He has since passed, but he was dedicated to scouting also. And I worked with him a lot of years too. I would say to him, thanks for getting me started, Bob. We need adults to keep scouting going, and if they can keep these young men and women involved now, it'll sure help keep them out of trouble.
Well, I started as a youth, as many do, worked my way through the ranks, and then I went off to college, took on a demanding job, and really didn't think about it much for a couple of years. So yes, I did achieve Eagle Scout. It was, I think, a challenge for me. It was a very good challenge. I enjoyed a lot of the activities in scouting, got to do things that I never thought I'd be able to do. So it was really enjoyable, and it was even more enjoyable to eventually earn that rank. When my son wanted to join scouting and went in feet first, took a committee chair position right out of the gate with a new pack, and have enjoyed it ever since. So there are just so many great things that can happen in scouting. There's so many opportunities, and I could probably tell you that pick a scout jamboree, a national jamboree, seeing Lee Greenwood on stage, or maybe a massive fireworks show, Maybe it was my Eagle ceremony or maybe a Pinewood Derby, but if I really think about it, it's just the joy I have watching my own children grow in the scouting program and just watching them become the great people that they are. It's not my only volunteer organization, but I would say scouting is probably my primary, and it's just because I can see what it does for the youth. I can see how it changes people, and you just look back at my youth, I was like that quiet kid that probably was not going to do a whole lot, and I really think it gave me a number of opportunities and allowed me to kind of spread my wings. Scouting is something that I think is crucial for society. Today is a real challenge if you look across the news, and just to be able to say, scouting has these moral standards and the mission statement that I just don't see in the school curriculum or sporting activities or really any other youth activities. So I just see scouting as something that has to continue, and we need to continue to push and make it relevant. I would have to say helpful. So as many adults are in scouting, we're here for a reason. We want to help out. We want to create that. And I just like to say that, I try to find ways to make helpful, using my skills, just be more impactful, right? Make that helpful more impactful. So I think it's definitely helpful, but I can see many other ones that are just really important. It was incredibly humbling. So, many of the volunteer activities I'm in, I see adults spending their precious time doing what they can in any way they can. And to know that there's just hundreds of adults just across our council doing what they can day in and day out, to be selected for this is just a momentous and very humbling experience. I would probably thank my dad, and I would just say thanks, Dad. He was probably my main encourager to get to Eagle, but then I think more importantly, I watched sometimes from afar, as I aged out of my troop and again went on to college. He stayed with the troop, and he was on the committee for 20 plus years before he retired from scouting. Just to see the dedication and continuous leadership is just awe-inspiring, and I appreciate the conversations we have about it on a pretty much weekly basis.
I first got involved in scouting because I had two kids from our neighborhood actually come and knock on our door one day selling popcorn. And my oldest, who was in second grade at the time, after they left, said, I want to do that. Well, we didn't have a Cub Scout pack in our town at the time. And so we ended up with the council help starting one. And we've been in scouting ever since. Some of my fondest memories I've had from scouting have actually been in some of the leadership trainings that I have done. It started with Baloo up in Loano here at Mr. Johnson's backyard, and we've had a great staff that have helped many other scouters like myself, and kind of went on to Wood Badge from there, which has really kind of taken me over as far as being comfortable talking in front of people and feeling like I can help other scouts, other leaders. Some of the other things obviously are like Pinewood Derbies, seeing my oldest cross over and is now a Life Scout. My youngest is actually crossing over tomorrow. So there's been a lot of good things both personally within my family and within just the scouting around me as well. It's really going to be how much I have opened up and become comfortable taking on different leadership roles. I know this past year for in our council camporee. That was something I had kind of jumped into as far as helping out like the Cub Scout side of things, and I wasn't sure I was going to be good to do that, but I had a great team around us. Just being a little bit more brave in some things. I hadn't really camped alone before I started scouting 7 years ago, so that's been a big thing. And really having people come to me with questions and needing help. That's somebody that, you know, I didn't think I was somebody who might have answers, but if I don't have them, I can find them now. So that's definitely something that's been neat, I guess. One of the biggest payoffs in scouting for me is going to be seeing my kids grow. I got into it for my kids and really watching them blossom and see them selling popcorn for the first time, being nervous to ask somebody, and now being very confident and teaching scouts younger than them how to approach people, how to feel comfortable, how to take a no and be cordial about it, and be very thankful when they get the yeses. So seeing the growth in not only my scouts, but several of them around have really been something that I always enjoy watching and seeing. So I hope to see scouting in the next 25 years continue to grow. I hope to see as many adult volunteers continue to say, yes, I'll help. I want to see our youth continue to become great leaders and help really instill all of the Scout oath and Scout law points that we're known for, and really continue to make great leaders out of all of the Scouts that go through the program. So my favorite point of the Scout law is definitely a Scout is cheerful. I really think that you can choose what kind of attitude you're going to have for the day. Even if you're facing some kind of adversity or you're having a bad day, something doesn't go your way, you can choose to look at what you do have instead of what you don't have. That's something that I've talked to my scouts, my kids in general too about, but I use it a lot with myself too. A good attitude can go a long, long way in kind of turning your day around, and somebody else's for that matter. I will say when I heard that I was receiving this award, I was very humble. Not something that I actually had known about until a couple years ago. And to see all the people that have come before me that have received this award, and certainly the people that have received it this year too, I'm honored to be in that same category, I guess. But it's very humbling. I wasn't expecting to get this or anything, so I was very surprised and honored when I heard about it. There's really not one person in scouting that I can thank. There's so many that have helped. My kids are really my first thanks because I got into scouting for them. I stay in it for them. I really enjoy watching everything that they do and the scouts around them do. My family in general has helped me with day camp. They've helped me in leadership trainings and meetings, so they're ready to help whenever I ask. The other leaders that have helped me in my own leadership training and supported me on different either trainings or events, meetings. It takes a whole group of people for an event to run smoothly, and there's a lot of people that help make those happen.
Somebody at our church made an announcement they wanted to start a Boy Scout troop, and I had kind of always wanted to be in Boy Scouts but never had the chance when I was a kid. I grew up on a farm in southeast Iowa. All the farm boys belonged to 4-H, and so the only camping I did as a kid was sleeping in the cattle barn at the Lee County Fair in Donaldson, Iowa. Probably watching my son run his Eagle Scout project and managing it. I mean, he just took control like he'd been doing it 15 times and managed the boys, but they did what he told them to do, asked them to do and stuff. And there was, I want to guess, probably 15 scouts helping him out. So that was really probably, while I was really involved with the troop, that was probably my proudest moment, I guess. When I'm out there during summer camp doing any kind of work and seeing a couple hundred people out there, that's really the big payoff. And even some of the shooting sports weekends when there's several dozen kids out there enjoying the camp, and get out of town and get away from their video games and get to do some outdoor stuff like I used to enjoy as a kid, because like I said, I grew up on a farm and I used to go to our farm pond fishing all the time and stuff like that. And like I said, I kind of always wanted to be in Scouts as a kid and to see what it's done. My son and I got to enjoy a lot of time together in Scouting, and but it really paid off, I think, for him too. Working at summer camp, he was on NYLT staff, and that really helped him grow. It helped him when he first interviewed for his first job up there. The guy that interviewed him wanted to talk about scouting and his Eagle Scout stuff as much as the job, really. At least that's what he said from his interview. So it really got him off to a good start for his career stand. I wish I had a crystal ball, but my vision, I guess, for scouting in the next 25 years is to hope it still grows and stuff like that. Even at my age, I'd rather be a participant in a sport or an activity than a spectator. And this is one way that parents and their kids can go do things together in the outdoors and side by side. Really, if you want to be involved, you can do the exact same thing your kid is doing and do it together, which very few other activities I can think of allow you to do that. I don't think I have a favorite point to the Scout Law. I think they're all very important. Hopefully the kids take the points of the Scout Law seriously, and that leads them in the right direction, I guess. It's very humbling to be a recipient of the Silver Beaver, because there's so many adults that I've looked up to in the past 27, 28 years that I've been in scouting, from Henry Sinclair, who was the first guy that taught this basic scout master class that I took back in 1997, to Mike Coleman and his staff at Wood Badge in 2000 when I took it, and all the wilderness engineers that I work with. So to be honored like this is, like I say, it's just very humbling. Well, besides my wife, who lets me go out to camp all the time, and because it's over 100-mile round trip going out to camp, I need to thank her. But there was a guy I knew long before I became involved in Scouts. I used to live in Burlington, Iowa, and I worked for a small company that was an electrical distributor. And there was a union electrician that would come in about every other Friday afternoon after he got off work, and he'd buy some stuff. And he'd go down to the local Boy Scout camp, which was Camp Eastman, and do some electrical repairs and stuff on the weekends and stuff. And I always just kind of admired that guy for doing that. And so here 40 years later, I'm kind of doing the same thing, but 45 years later, because he died of cancer in the mid-'80s and stuff like that. So anyway, probably nobody in this council knows of him or anything, but his name was Gary Swedenberg, and his nickname was Swede. So if there was anybody that I could talk to that I can't talk to, that'd probably be him. For all the volunteers, there's so many, I don't know how many volunteers there are in WD Boyce Council, but it takes a lot to run this thing, because I do my small part, but there's so many people that keep troops going and everything, and just to everybody that is involved and has been involved for a long time, they all need to be thanked for doing their part.
I first became involved in scouting as a youth, very young, as a young scout, was involved in all of the Cub Scout programs. My parents had been involved in scouting. My grandfather had been involved in scouting, so it was a natural fit that I would get involved. Thoroughly enjoyed spending time with friends, learning about nature, learning about different things in life, and experiencing what scouting had to offer. I was a young Cub Scout. We were camping one evening in a old schoolhouse that was on a preservation, pretty neat property to be camping on. The next morning we had got up and there were some adults helping get breakfast going and whatnot. And at some point we realized that instead of using what we thought was oil for the eggs, we were using dish soap for the eggs, which made for an interesting experience since we had already all ate the eggs. Nobody got sick, but it was quite a funny moment and still one I remember today. I served as president of the WD Boyce Council Board during COVID, as well as during the national bankruptcy of the BSA. Helping our council navigate those challenging times and emerge into the strong position that it's in today with growing membership, growing resources, and making it through, honestly, some of those tough experiences is something I'm proud of. My big payoff moment or period of time has really been reflecting on the experiences my children have had and the experience that I'm positive hundreds and hundreds of other children have had in the scouting programs. I have two boys, 12 and 15. Both are involved in Boy Scouts, really excelling in the program, enjoy their time learning, as well as the opportunities and adventures they get to go on. I, as a parent, enjoy going with them on those adventures and participating, but I also really take a lot of pride in knowing and feeling comfortable about how many other youth are getting that same experience. It's pretty neat. Scouting has been, and I believe continues to be, the premier youth development program in the nation, and honestly around the globe. Scouting will continue to be and will strengthen in its capability as the premier youth program. The ability to help people learn basic skills and experience things that they don't get to experience in their ordinary life is pretty fascinating. I really struggled thinking about this as to which one point I would narrow it down to. But when I reflect on the one thing that I think is very, very important, it's trustworthiness. Living your life in a trustworthy fashion can lead to a lot of great things, and being relied on by other people and most importantly, trusted by other people. Well, for starters, I was shocked and very surprised. What it means to me is it really validates some of the work that I've done over time and energizes me to continue to give back to the community, give back to Scouts, and to help my children see a brighter future. There are countless people in my life today and countless folks over my professional career that have been involved in Scouting and that I've known well, been mentored by, leaned on for advice, and trusted throughout the course of my career. And so it's really an amazing experience to see how that extends into your adulthood and leadership in the community.